What is up, fellow bench warmers? Welcome to your Daily Fantasy Quickie. Hey guys, it's Sunday. Happy Mother's Day to all. If there's mothers here listening, or maybe to your wives of the fantasy managers who are following us. Happy Mother's Day to you, Com. Happy Mother's Day to your wife.
Yes.
And just to make sure.
One. But we're not discriminating here. Your wife, to your girlfriends, whoever,
Yes, as long as your mother, happy Mother's Day to you. All right. So Sunday, a day before Judgment Day. Tomorrow is pretty exciting for a lot of fantasy managers, and a lot of matchups have been really, really, really close. Even our own matchups have been really close. We were chatting about it a while ago. Like my FBW league is quite close, but I'm quite confident that I might be able to win. And today, just a quick playoff story time, I just realized the value of staying close on the turnovers. Because heading into the last day, my opponent would be able to. I am up by around 11 steals or 10 assists. Okay, so he caught me in the assist department, in the assist category, but at the same time he also caught me in the turnover. So now we're tied at turnovers. So he is 10 assists down, and we're tied at turnovers. So that means he would need to play all those players he needs to get both assists and turnovers. So that's going to be challenging for him. Unlike if, he was just winning the turnovers, because initially he was, before today, he was up, I think, 9 turnovers. He was ahead. I mean, he had 9 turnovers less. He caught up. So now he has no choice but to play all those guys. But if he plays all those players he would definitely lose turnovers, right? And he needs to win two categories. Both, maybe the turnovers and the assist. He's 8 steals down. But I just realized how important that he was able to catch up on the turnovers. Because now, I won't be afraid of him adding players to his team. Right? Because if he adds more players, that means the chances of him getting more turnovers is there. So I won't, I can win the turnovers still. So it's going to be a challenge for him. And that's why I see the value of, being close or staying close in the turnovers. I'm not sure about you guys, but I just realized that today, that how important that is.
That's true. Turnovers is a very important stat, but you can't predict that at times.
Yeah, like we always say, it's one of the lucky stats to have, right? Turnovers, field goal, and free throws. And Kamish was talking to me about his matchups wherein free throws have been really close at this point, and he is having a dilemma of how to use the different players he has, right? Who to play, and if the players he can play would be able to, keep the lead in the.
Sometimes when you're in your last day, you have to look at whether you would try to catch up on multiple categories or just concentrate on a certain one category. Because as we said a lot of times, you only need 5, right?
Yeah.
So if you have 4, but you're in the fight for 2 other categories, you have to decide in the last day or last 2 days whether you concentrate on just one of the 2. That is very tricky, and it's a gamble, because if you fail in that category, you're dead.
Yeah.
Right? You're dead. But if you try to get players who will help you in one category and then hurt you in the other category, it's like if you have 2 players that you added one who's good in the one category but hurts you in the other, and the other one helps you in this category and hurts you in the other. So it's like they're conflicting.
Yep.
Something won't work also. So
that's the problem now, at least of the manager that I'm facing with, because he needs assists. And if you need assists, the players you would get would probably be the more turnover-prone players. He got Rubio, he got Rondo. Probably they'd have the chances of them turning the ball over is higher than maybe getting a low-end center who can, who if he just needs the rebounds or the other stats, right?
Yes.
So these are conflicting stats that would make it harder for certain managers to decide which players to add or which players to.
So an advice, all the remaining players you have for tomorrow, check their stat lines the past 2 games, one by one. Check it. Don't just think like, hey, this guy is a good free throw shooter, he's a guard. You don't. It's not given, because sometimes it's the very small details, like Sexton, for instance. Colin Sexton, he's a guard. He's a good free throw shooter. Let's say he's 80%, 79, 80%. That's good. But if you're talking about small percentages, if he shoots 8 out of 10 tomorrow, I will lose. Because it's small percentages. Like, maybe my opponent will get someone who scores 9 out of 10. Right?
Yeah.
So you have to look at the very small details tomorrow.
Yeah, but still, categories like the free throws, field goals, and turnovers is really, really hard to predict or at least prepare for. It's really, sometimes it's the luck that would bring you that win, right? And it's scheduling. I was talking to you about the scheduling, how important it is to have players, having good schedules, because tomorrow is on a Monday here in the Philippines. There are early games, right? There are 1 a.m. games, and if you have players on these 1 a.m. games, it can sometimes become a disadvantage as well, because you'll end early and it's harder for you to adjust or adapt. If you need to sit certain players, like you needed to sit a player because you don't want your turnovers, you don't want too many turnovers, right?
Yes.
You'll be forced. You can't be forced to sit them because they're the first game. They will play the first game, right? So unlike if you have a player on the 10 a.m. schedule here in Manila, at least by that time you'll have the chance to decide whether I can sit these players already.
I treat the 1 a.m. and 3:30 games as part of Saturday, not the last of Sunday, not the last day. I treat it as such, and I always look at what players I have. If I have all 1 and 3:30 a.m. players, I'm in trouble because I'll be at the mercy of my opponent.
Yep.
So if I'm gonna add, I usually won't add any of those games. If that is how the breakdown of my players are for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would usually try to get a 10 o'clock player. But that's
gonna be difficult as well if the 10 a.m. games might not have good players to add. I mean, there won't be any choices there.
But based on my experience so far, there would be players to add. There would be. Even in 16 team, in a 16 team playoff I'm in now, I was able to add some players still, even at the last moment. Because what I'm noticing right now, and what you should be noticing, is that there are less and less players picking up, less and less teams picking up. It's basically maybe 2 or 3 of you, and a lot of the managers are left with no moves already by this time.
Yeah.
So the ad drops are very limited. So there would be players that will be available. Trust me. So don't be in a hurry. Just think properly before you make that move.
Yeah. So those are the playoff stories that nice to share as well. The experience we have with our own matchups and sharing with you guys. So let's talk about today's games. Let's talk about Siakam's injury. Pascal Siakam was
a shoulder strain. It's a shoulder strain. He left the game late.
Okay. So now, is it safe to say, because heading into week 20, I'm not sure if it's safe to say that we have already expected Toronto to shut down their players. Maybe by this time, or at least some of their players, but they haven't. I guess.
I'll talk about Siakam in relation to Detroit since we're there. As I said, we don't know how these teams think because Detroit played Plumlee, Jeremy Grant, Corey Joseph, Wayne Ellington, played everybody, and they have a back-to-back tomorrow.
Started everyone,
and the players played a lot of minutes. So people would ask, hey, Plumlee's in my FA, would I pick him up? I would say he's also in my FA, but I won't pick him up because tomorrow's a back-to-back. Maybe all of a sudden we won't play. So basically in Detroit, that's still my stand. I don't know about Jeremy, but it's still
Stay away. I'm staying away. I'm
staying away from Plumlee. I'm still staying away from Jeremy. Yet, as you can see today, even if Jeremy Grant played, he did not play well. Plumlee played better. He had 1 steal, 2 blocks, but I won't mess with that. With Siakam, the consensus thinking is, well, they're out of it, so why will he come back, right?
Yep.
But we've seen weirder things happen, like as we said in Detroit. So I don't know. But for me, if you're asking me, I think he's not coming back anymore. Should be, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the excuse that Toronto would need
to sit him out for the rest of the season. So, yeah, I mean, I've seen some OGs being dropped. Some
OGs have dropped.
Some of these Toronto players have been dropped already. So I think probably the last player left standing is Siakam because Van Vliet didn't play today, Lowry didn't play today, OG didn't play today. So those players, most likely they're out. So Siakam's the only player who's been really playing this week so far.
So Cambridge, Gary Trent would be probably the 2 remaining starters. Malachi Flynn.
Yep.
Again, I don't know what they're gonna do with Lowry and Fred VanVleet next week, so it's a question mark to me. But Flynn, just keep him in your radar if in case that Toronto shuts the 2 guards out. But Birch and Trent should be safe.
Although
Trent is a scary player to add. 5 out of 20 today, so be careful with that. Rodney Hood is out. He got injured also. So the remaining players there, if you want to gamble, Yuta Watanabe and Fred Gillespie are the 2 players who might get more minutes if Siakam misses time.
Yeah. And speaking of that, let's talk about Houston, another team who has been depleted. Today, Jae'Sean Tate played, but didn't play well. He pretty much took a 1-week break, right? He's okay. I mean, I think he had 6 rebounds or 6 assists?
No, he had 10 assists, 8 rebounds, 13 points. He did not shoot well. Out of 18
he did not shoot well. That was what I was talking about. He did not shoot well. And at this point, really, I mean, unless you're punting field goal, really, I always feel that you should give yourself a fighting chance in the field goal category.
And he's available in a lot of leagues. He was available in our league, in Jeremy and our league. And I could have added him for next week, but I was thinking whether to add him or Cree Thomas, the one I've been talking to you. I told you about.
Yep.
I said this guy is who's very fantasy friendly. Today he had 5 steals, 2 blocks, and 27 points. And I chose Thomas because Tate is still injured. He's playing injured. You see, Olynyk did not play today because it's a rest thing for Olynyk. It's a back-to-back, so he rested today. But you would assume that Houston might rest Tate some games because he's hobbled. So to be safe, I chose Thomas. And if you guys have KJ Martin still in your waiver wire, maybe you can pick up you should pick up KJ Martin. So it's only the 2 of them. Maybe Armoni a little bit, Armoni Brooks at times kind of safe about. But if I know Tate will play all the games next week, I love Tate. But
but again, they might, he and Olynyk might, alternate in the games and the rest as well. So actually, Olynyk was a surprise that he rested today because the blurbs have been saying that he most likely would play, but hey,
I think he has a legit injury. He sprained his ankle.
I think that last game he did. He was already I think questionable the first of the back-to-back, I think yesterday's game.
But
so
he was forced to play, I think, because they were lacking players.
And maybe Tate wasn't ready by that time. So those are Houston, Detroit. I think in Houston, probably KJ Martin is the safest one there. Olynyk, I think I'll still keep Olynyk. He's been a stud. I think he'll play. If he won't play the whole week, he'll probably give you 2 good games maybe.
Mm-hmm. I
So
think so.
that's enough. Maybe that's enough for me. Detroit, I'm staying away from the starters really. And even the bench. Um, Even Isaiah Stewart hasn't been playing well.
We're gonna talk about Detroit in their schedule because
Yeah,
it's up to week 20. But yeah, stay away. In essence, they have a bad schedule next week. Stay away.
yeah. I
There's
am
no
staying
team.
away from Detroit players. Well, I have Frank Jackson, and I think he's probably one of the more stable guys. At least you don't expect too much from him. Just score a bit, shoot some threes a bit. Won't hurt you in the field goal as much, even if he scores. So, and gives you one or two steals. That's
And
fine.
Seiko Dombaya, he has been not he's been playing well lately. So he's also someone you can consider maybe
Just streaming maybe. I added
streaming.
Jackson this week because they had 5 games, so I think that's. But yeah, in essence, he's really not the top ad, or he's not a must add for any week, for that matter. All right.
And one Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal sprained his hamstring, so
Yeah.
Monitor that closely.
And yeah, Bradley had 50 today. And you mentioned about in your quickie about Steph Curry and Bradley Beal fighting for that scoring title.
Yes. And if Beal will not miss time, then it will be bad news for opponents of Curry and Beal because they'll be fighting for it the whole week. Remember the David Robinson, Shaquille O'Neal era battle. Maybe the last day they would just give Steph 70 chances for 70 points just to win the scoring title. So that's bad. But if this hamstring,
Well, especially if they've closed out on the play-in slot, right?
That's true.
I mean, they're still fighting for that play-in spot, right? I mean, both teams are still fighting. I don't think I haven't checked the standings, but I don't think both are within the top 6.
I think Golden State is stuck at number 8. They have a slight lead, but their opponents next week, I think, in my opinion, they could beat. So
Washington is 9th, but I think based on these standings, the top 10 in the East is pretty set. I think it's up until Indiana, and then Chicago's 3 games away. I don't think they'll catch up.
Mhm.
In the West, Golden State is 8th, but yeah, they're pretty much good. So I think everyone's clinched already. So yeah, I mean, if there is a battle for scoring title, they can do it.
They will, but let's see about Beal's injury because it's hamstring. It's a hamstring. So
And then of course, the play-in would probably be more important than that scoring title, right? I mean, if they're really serious about making a good playoff run. So yeah, let's talk about some the week 20 schedules. Who has the best schedule? Who has the worst schedule? Who are good ads for the week?
let's start with 5-game weeks. 5-game teams with 5 games. There are a lot of teams. 4 teams with 5 games. So that's Memphis, Milwaukee, Indiana, and San Antonio. So this is 4 teams. These are 4 teams with 5 games. And it's easy because there are 2 teams with 3 games. The 2 teams with 5 games this week, Detroit and OKC, they will have 3 games next week. And their matchups are bad. So, basically they have the worst schedule, both Detroit and OKC. So the 4 teams that I mentioned, Indiana, Memphis, Milwaukee, and San Antonio, well, you would probably have to consider picking up streamers on those teams, especially Memphis, because I'll give you the schedule of Memphis. They're New Orleans, Dallas, Sacramento twice, and then Golden State. So that's very good schedule, super good schedule. And if you have someone who will play all 5 games, maybe Ja Morant, maybe Jonas, I don't know if Jonas will play all 5, but if Jonas will play all 5 games, Kyle Anderson, these players would be very, very valuable next week.
Yeah.
So those 4 teams. And then if we're gonna look at the breakdown of games, there would be 3 days that have very few games, which is Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, or basically Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday in Manila.
Mhm.
Those are the days we want to concentrate on streaming because most likely you won't have full rosters for those.
Yeah, and for those teams with 5 games, I'm pretty sure rest would be another concern for the top players from these teams. So, but I'm not focusing on the rest because we know rest can happen anytime at this point. But maybe players to stream if certain players rest. If we go to Milwaukee, maybe a Bobby Portis would be a good stream. Dante, if he's still Dante DiVincenzo, if they sit
Available. Yeah.
Chris Middleton, right?
Yeah. I would assume that Giannis and Middleton will miss some games.
A game or two, maybe.
A game or two.
I wouldn't be surprised if they miss a game or two. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one good strategy if you have an extra move right now to use is to pick up
a player from these teams.
Portis, maybe Desmond Bain from Memphis.
Lonnie Walker.
Maybe. I picked Lonnie Walker in one of the leagues but San Antonio, the thing is of San Antonio is they don't have a back-to-back. They're the only team with 5 games that doesn't have a back-to-back right away.
Yeah, and they're the only team who doesn't really plan for rest, and they will just announce it on the day.
But I assume the DeRozan and the DeJounte Murray will rest.
Yep,
they will
rest. I would think so too. Given Pop's history,
that makes Lonnie Walker.
Poeltl could rest as well. Usually he goes with these two players.
The good thing with San Antonio's 5 games is they play on days that I just said. Days that have 6 games. They play in a lot of those days. So that's why I like San Antonio. I picked up Lonnie Walker for not tomorrow, the first day of week 20. And then I'm just gonna keep him for the whole week. And if you want those kinds of players, Indiana actually is very, 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 very good players for that. And Edmond Sumner, O'Shea Brissett, Doug McDermott, these guys, 5 games. But of course, it also depends on Malcolm Brogdon if he's gonna come back or not, right? But yeah, those teams. Now for teams with not 5 games, Atlanta has a super good schedule. Washington, Orlando, Houston. That's their matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so good. I mean, Washington.
What any team against Washington is good. If you just look at the games, the past couple of games against Indiana has been really, and Indiana didn't even have some of their players, like they didn't have Brogdon, they didn't have some scorers there. So yeah, I mean it's a great matchup.
So if you're playing a team with Trey, Capella, John Collins, Bogdan, be prepared. They'll be. We did say Steph Curry will go berserk this week, and what did he do? Right?
Yeah.
So there, you have to be careful. You have to be ready for those things.
Yeah. Some tips, I guess, as you head into. I'm sure a lot of the fantasy managers who've been listening or following us know already some of the tips that we've been always giving them. The ads, the moves, right? First, the moves.
Okay.
Make sure that the moves, your moves, are very calculated. You don't make careless moves, and make sure that the moves you make. Well, here's another thing. Even if you're chasing, let's say, assist today, doesn't mean tomorrow you'll be chasing assist again.
Good
right?
point. That's a very good point. Yes.
It has happened almost every time. Like some managers were adding prematurely, like they felt that I needed assists, I needed more assists. But in reality, after all the games have been played, it's the rebounds that have been close. It's the 3 points that have been close. So I think using the ads wisely is a good tip on heading into the final week.
And what I would do with the final week is I will divide it, as I said some time ago, that you divide the week into 2. The first 4 days and then the last 3 days. Divide it into two parts. The first 4 days, your ads would be the teams I told you about. The Indianas, the Memphis, because they have 3 games on those 4 days. Mm-hmm. So So and Atlanta's only 4 games next week, but the 3 games of those 4 is right Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. So they have games right away.
Yeah.
So if you add someone from Atlanta, I don't know who to add in Atlanta though. Puerter, yeah, I mentioned Puerter. Probably the only
pretty
guy.
much the only guy there left, unless there's an injury.
Pretty much Puerter.
I'm not sure if DeAndre Hunter would play, but I don't think you would want to touch on DeAndre Hunter, especially.
He will play. DeAndre would play, but yeah, you're correct. I won't touch DeAndre Hunter. But I did mention the other players. That's what you pick up for the first half, and then for the second half, you pick players probably with back-to-backs on the last 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
But be careful on the last day. That's another tip I'll give you. The last day of the regular season, all 30 teams will be playing, or will have games on that day. All 30 teams.
So that means you'd have full roster.
Definitely full roster, but the problem is who will play among your roster, among your players. So we'll talk about that maybe when we go to that day this coming week. But don't expect any of your stars who don't have anything to play for to play. So
most likely that would happen, especially if you are whether you are a playoff team or a non-playoff team. I think either way, most likely a lot of these top players would not play on the last day.
So what I would advise Jeremy is that if you have Jokic and Embiid, these kinds of stars,
drop them.
Well, I won't drop them for the last day because what if they'll play? But I would keep a move because you'll have full roster anyway. So keep a move, maybe to add some of the players that could benefit if these guys rest.
Yeah.
Like if you have Embiid, maybe Dwight is available. Pick up Dwight just in case. So when they announce Embiid is not going to play, put Dwight there. So something like that, something in that vein, so that it will help you guys.
But we'll probably talk more about it as the week ends next week. I mean, week 20.
But I could imagine us talking about it next week when all 30 teams are gonna play, and
I'm pretty sure a lot of I'm pretty sure we'll probably be guessing which players, because some of these teams announce player scratches probably around tip off or before tip off or a couple of hours before tip off. So for some, you probably have added certain players already. But the good thing is, at least it's gonna be so frustrating if like you have a full roster and then half of your roster won't be playing. That's possible, right? That's,
I guess, if you're really
quite possible.
If you have the Utah Phoenix players, the Clippers players, the Denver players, you're in trouble. Kawhi, Chris Paul, even these guys, I doubt they're gonna play.
Yeah. Even those that are in the play-in teams, I mean, I think they'll rest them a game just to get them prepared for the play-in, right? I mean, they are probably the players that would most likely rest.
So don't give
especially
up.
If they don't play, if they have nothing to play for, the positioning, right?
Yes. So don't give up next week because
shouldn't. It's the finals, guys.
No matter how strong your opponent is.
Yeah. If I make it in this Superstars League in FBW, my opponent is quite strong. So, but yeah, we'll see.
The only problem you would have is when you play Steph Curry, because as we said, he has a lot of motivation to play. Golden State's number 8 seed, his scoring title, and his historic run. So with Russell Westbrook. So if you're playing against those opponents, you really have to strategize.
Russell Westbrook has been really good this year. I mean,
so those two are the safest in my opinion for next week among the stars, Westbrook and Curry. So
yeah,
be ready. Be ready.
So yeah, that's it. Tomorrow is the end of week 19, Judgment Day, guys. So good luck in your matchups. We'll keep you posted on what happens to the FPW matchups for the week. and who moves on to the finals. We'll talk about that more tomorrow, and probably we'll have more stories tomorrow on what transpires tomorrow during the Judgment Day. All right, we'll see you again tomorrow. I've said tomorrow so many times. Tomorrow for our Daily Fantasy Quickie. Bye, guys.
Bye.